Pick one and stick with it for a prolonged period of time. Within the first 5 seconds of looking at it, you should know who it's for, what it is, and where it's at. And if you can optimize that process, I genuinely believe you can implement this in any business and scale it. I got the opportunity about 4 years ago to take over at Anytime Fitness that was not doing very well. I had no marketing experience, no sales experience, and absolutely zero idea how to run a brick and mortar. Probably the worst deal that you could possibly ever make. I started there doing $6,000 per month, 90 days passes, and we moved no needles. The trick with conviction is that in order to earn it, you have to help people. But in order to help people, you have to sell people. So it's a full circle. My very first experience with paid ads was a positive one, and it doesn't always go that way. If it would have went wrong, I would have given up too early, and I don't think I would be where I am today.
Ladies and gentlemen, bring it up for Ashton Wilson.
Appreciate the kind words, by the way. That was amazing. Also, this event has been absolutely phenomenal. The amount of value that's been packed in the last 2 days is ridiculous. I've met a lot of you as well, and it's been awesome just kind of connecting with everybody here. So just give it up for the Super Coach Summit really quick. Just put your hands together. So I'm Ashton Wilson. I'm the founder of Consultation AI, where we build what's arguably the most sophisticated conversational AI on the market. At least I think so. It's actually crazy being up here because everything really comes full circle. So I started in this space, and I keep ending up back in this space. So I have a master's degree in exercise physiology, 2 personal training certifications. I have a published research article on metabolism, as well as I did my master's thesis on the utilization of essential amino acids as opposed to just branch chains when it comes to sports performance. So I don't use any of that anymore, and it's because shit happens. And so I'm doing something completely different now, but it's led to a lot of new open doors and a lot of opportunity, and it's led to some pretty cool things. So, for example, we get the opportunity to work with people like the bearded lumberjack-looking man on the screen, and clients of his, as well as Joel Kaplan, who's the founder of Agency Lab and Fun Flair. Agency Lab alone does about $1 million a month. Have anybody heard of the Skool of Hard Knocks before? So they're blowing up on TikTok, Instagram right now. They basically go up to people on the street that are wealthy, and they ask them how they got rich, and then they do a brief interview. They have 7 million followers across all their platforms right now. We manage all of their conversational AI, all of their funnels, etc. They're crushing it right now, and they're like 19, 20 years old. And they didn't know what to use with how to use their platform either. I asked them how they were monetizing it, and they're like, "What's monetized?" And I'm like, "Okay, well that's not good. So let's figure that out." And so also led about 7 months ago a masterclass on going from $0 to $100,000 a month in an agency. And now we currently work directly with Go High Level, and we actually help them build the internal conversational AI that's within their platform, which has been absolutely awesome. One of my biggest, or actually I should say 2 things, 2 big priorities while I'm on this stage. Number 1, I know a lot of people come to these events, they get way too much information. Like the amount of information that we've gotten here is way too much. And they take pictures of the slides and they take notes, and obviously they go home and then they don't do anything with it. I want to give you guys so much practical information that it's almost impossible to leave here and not have the capability to make more money. That's my number 1 priority. Number 2, I want to teach everybody in this room how to acquire clients in a consistent, predictable, and scalable way. Sound good? All right, beautiful. This concept of the acquisition funnel, which is what we're going to be going over, is responsible for adding an extra $30,000 of top-line revenue in 1 month to over 30 gyms, allowed for 7 failing brick and mortars to be built and sold in less than 12 months, 2 of those for over $1 million, booked over 30,000 appointments on autopilot, and took my business personally from $0 to $50,000 per month in less than 60 days. Now, I start with that because of how it actually started. So I got the opportunity about 4 years ago to take over at Anytime Fitness that was not doing very well. It was doing $6,000 per month, and it was in the middle of COVID. Probably the worst deal that you could possibly ever make with anyone. I had no marketing experience, no sales experience, and absolutely zero idea how to run a brick and mortar. Where are my brick and mortar business owners at? So you know how at one point in time you probably did all of the training, you did all of the sales, and you cleaned all of the toilets, and it wasn't fun. That's just kind of what comes with it. So that's exactly what I did. And if you take a look at the picture of me on the screen, you'll see a stupid smile on my face, because obviously I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I started there doing $6,000 per month. 90 days passes, and we move no needles. So we're still at $6,000 a month. I probably sold like 6 memberships, and at the time, my form of marketing was taking business cards over to the Aldi's next door and handing them out to the employees there. And you can probably guess how that went. I didn't get anything from that at all. So I got fed up of jumping on these Anytime Fitness corporate calls. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's like bi-weekly you jump on with like other district Anytime Fitness club owners, and you kind of talk numbers, and you talk like what strategies, what's working, what's not. And I was doing the worst every single time, and everybody was like, this 23-year-old kid doesn't know how to run a business. And it was like, whenever it was my turn to talk numbers, you could tell like everybody on the call was like, oh shit, this isn't gonna go well. So I took the initiative. I'm like, there's gotta be another way besides handing out business cards at the Aldi's next door. And I come across a YouTube tutorial video on how to run Facebook ads. Who in here runs Facebook ads, by the way? Awesome. Hopefully it's changed your life the same way that it's changed mine. So I watched this video, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take what I implement. I make like this Canva creative, and then the next day, I launch the ad on Facebook, and 4 hours later, a lead comes in. I pick up the phone, I call the lead. I'm like, hey, you signed up for the ad? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what's up? How can we help? He's like, I'm 40 years old, I'm 50 pounds overweight, my wife doesn't look at me the same anymore, and I need help. And I was like, that's a lot. And I was like, I set the mile radius around our facility 5 miles, so you must be close. He's like, yeah, you guys are right down the road. I'm like, come on in, we're gonna be here all day. He's like, do I need to book an appointment? I'm like, no, just come in. I basically live here, so I'll be here probably if you come. Like statistically, I'm gonna be here. So he comes, he shows up like an hour later. I should have booked the appointment, by the way. That's not a good way to handle that process. He shows up like an hour later. We have a conversation, and I close the deal. So my very first experience with paid ads was a positive one, and it doesn't always go that way. But I'm truly grateful for that because I really think that if it would have went wrong, that I would have given up too early, and I don't think I would be where I am today. So I'm very, very, very grateful that that was the experience. So from that point forward, I spent the rest of my time trying to figure out how to master the acquisition process, getting someone to go from a lead to an appointment, to show up to their appointment, and then for the deal to be closed. And if you can optimize that process, I genuinely believe you can implement this in any business and scale it. So here's how that went. February of 2021, we were doing $6,000 per month. September of 2021, roughly 7 months later, we were doing $48,000 per month. The last month that I was there, we spent $6,000 on Facebook ads, and I sold about $27,000 worth of 6-week challenges, memberships, and personal training packages. And that led to me starting my first agency. Really quick, I'm going to ask you guys to be relatively transparent with me and engage a little bit. I want you to stand up out of your chair if you have ever hit rock bottom starting your business. This shit sucks sometimes. Like, it's hard. You guys go ahead and sit down. So I gave everything starting Gym Closers. I know I'm young, but I gave so much. My beautiful girlfriend here in the second row, she was with me through the whole thing. Show yourself to the class. I'm just kidding. You don't have to. Don't do that. She was with me through the whole thing. She had to pay for like a couple of dinners when we went out. That's not good for my ego. I didn't like that at all. So I took out multiple personal loans, maxed out every credit card that I had. I didn't have any business credit. That was all personal. So if you ever want to learn how to obliterate your credit, come talk to me. I'm really good at it. Totaling probably somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 of debt. I bought them out. I have to sell my car, and I have to lie to my mom about why I'm selling my car. I'm like, yeah, they offered me a really good deal, but really I just needed more money to put back into ad spend. So I bought them out again, and then I'm like, I need to get a job because I don't have another choice, and there's no way I'm going to back to work for another gym, and there's definitely no way I'm going back to work at a hospital. So I got a sales job, and I'm like, I can learn while I earn. That's probably the best way to go about it. So I work for about 3 to 4 months. I save up $6,000, and I go for it one more time, and things start to click. So finally, we sign up some people. We work with over 150 brick-and-mortar gym locations. We're building testimonials, and then out of nowhere, you see gym agencies just kind of like popping up. It's like a trend. I don't know. You guys probably see all the ads. There's like a different one every other day. So I'm like, now I have to separate myself from the competition. And the one problem I see is that a lot of gym owners don't like to call their leads. And I'm like, if we can fix this problem, I think it'll separate us from the rest of the crowd. So I'm like, maybe we can hire appointment setters, but that's going to decrease our margins, and then we'll have to increase our price points, and that's no fun for anyone. So what I did was I started building a conversational AI appointment setter to implement into CRMs, start communicating with the leads that were coming into the pipeline, booking the appointments, getting more to show up because those people actually had a conversation with a bot via text message. So we did that, and I changed the entire business overnight. So I literally created a new logo. I made a new Facebook page. I launched the ads. We had one salesperson at the time, and I told him the next day, I was like, hey, you have a completely new offer for a business that you've never sold for. None of them are gym owners. And he looked at me like I was a psychopath. But that was one of the best decisions that we have ever made to date. So now we run Active Solutions AI, which is where we build AI-driven appointment setting systems, and we install them into businesses that are generating leads in any way whatsoever. So paid ads, organic, whatever it might be. Now, before I get into this entire concept of how it works, the acquisition funnel, I do want to say that I genuinely believe that if you take anything from this presentation and you go home and you actually implement it and you take the time to perfect the process, I think it has the power to transform your business forever, because it's done it for all of mine, and I've seen it happen to so many businesses. So let's go ahead and dive in. Starting with, actually, let me go back really quick. Let's break this down. So the acquisition funnel is composed of 4 different stages. Stage number 1 is leads, 2 is appointments, 3 is shows, and 4 is closes. And each stage relies on the previous stage to exist. So for example, if you don't have leads, there's no one to book appointments. If you don't have appointments, there's no one to show up to the appointment. If no one's showing up, then there's no one to close. So let's go ahead and start at the top of the funnel, and let's get into how we even make this acquisition funnel exist. So you need some form of lead generation. This is going to be your acquisition channel. Now, this can be Facebook ads, YouTube, Google, TikTok, even cold outbound or organic, right? I think regardless, I should say this as well. Regardless, if you have a business, I think brand is extremely important, and you should be working on building that from the start. But it doesn't hurt to supplement that with some extra income by running ads until you really get that established as well. So you can use any one of these channels to work. The problem is either people use none of them or they try to use all of them, and then they end up in the same place. So pick one and stick with it for a prolonged period of time, and I promise you, you will see results. Now, if you're not sure what acquisition channel you want to start with, I'll give you some information. You can make an informed decision on what would be best for you. So here is a very sophisticated graph that obviously took me a very long time to put together. If you take a look, this is always going to be a conversation that you have with running paid ads or generating leads. Volume or quantity versus quality of leads. You ever heard the term low quality leads before? So if you take a look at the far left for you guys, you'll see TikTok. TikTok, very easy to generate leads, especially if you have a good ad. You throw that up there, you can generate leads. The problem is a lot of times the quality of the leads is low. But that doesn't mean it won't work, it just means you have to perfect your process. I hope that you have people that like to talk to people on the phones, because you're going to need to sift through, and again, this isn't like organic content posting, this is paid advertising specifically. You're going to need to sift through all of the leads that come in and separate the low quality from the high quality so that you can spend more time with the high quality. It will still work, it's just a different process. Then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is Google advertising or search engine advertising. So someone Googles weight loss, your ad comes up, and when someone searches for something, they tend to be a higher quality lead, right? Because they're probably ready to buy. The problem with this is, it's really hard to start with this because those leads are not cheap. And if your price point isn't figured out and your offer is not figured out, Google, in my opinion, is a hard place to start. So my personal favorite is Facebook or meta advertising. I think that you get enough swings at the plate, or you can generate enough leads where it's the perfect mix between volume and quality, where you get enough swings at the plate to get enough opportunities to better the process so you can start closing more deals in a profitable way, like actually get a really good return on your ad spend. Now, another thing to consider, it takes about 20 hours of deliberate practice to get reasonably good at something. The biggest problem I see when someone's choosing an acquisition channel is that either they never start the first 20 hours, right? So they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'll just stick with referrals, right, before they build a brand. Referrals work really well if you have a good brand. Or they start the 20 hours and they never finish because of something that I call shiny object syndrome. So some of you in here might be able to relate to this, and that's 100% okay. So you start running Facebook ads, right? And you haven't optimized the process, so it's like you have some low-quality leads, or like you talk to people and nobody's converting, and then someone goes, oh, like you hear someone's ripping it on TikTok. They're like closing deals left and right. So now you're like, oh, that's why it's not working, is because I'm not using TikTok. So you start using TikTok, you start all over, and then you hear somebody else say, hey, you got to go to LinkedIn because everybody has money and they want to give you $10,000 for your services and you should charge high ticket to those people. And then you go over there and you end up in the same place. All of these will work. I know multi-million-dollar companies that use Meta, they use TikTok, they use LinkedIn, they do cold outbound. They'll all work. It's just a different process with each. So you should pick one in the beginning and you should stick with it because it's all going to take time to kind of learn and develop the process and to do the work that it takes to be able to implement that process effectively. Now, if you're one of those that likes to take pictures of slides, this is going to be a very good one to take a picture of. So this is a concept that I created called the 5-second rule. And first, let me break down to you guys how the Facebook algorithm works. Facebook, whenever you throw an ad up on Facebook, Facebook collects the demographic data of the people who are spending the most time on that ad, and it'll go, oh, all the people who are spending the most time on this ad are between the ages of 30 and 50. They're mostly female, and they have a household income that's between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, or whatever it might be, right? And it goes, okay, I'm going to take your ad, and I'm going to show it to more people that look like this audience, and then that's when the cost per lead starts to go down, you generate more leads. It's because Facebook is finding your target audience through the activity on the ad. The problem is, if you have a confusing ad that isn't clear to everybody, the target audience doesn't know it's for them. And they're not going to take the time on an ad platform to try to figure out if your ad is for them. So now Facebook doesn't know who your audience is and doesn't know who to show it to. The secret behind this is whether it's a video or a picture, within the first 5 seconds of looking at it, you should know who it's for, what it is, and where it's at. And that last one is for brick and mortar specifically. But it's got to be obvious. It has to call out the audience. So first you need to stop, get them to stop scrolling somehow. And then you make it obvious who it's for, and this will work every single time. I made this ad, this picture ad, this very generic one here, specifically for this presentation, but I guarantee you, if you throw this up in all 50 states, like if you were to copy this, they would get under $10 leads every time. Now videos, in my opinion, work better if you're good on camera, but you still want to execute the same thing. Make sure that your target audience knows that it's for them and have a way to stop people from scrolling. That's it. First 5 seconds of the video is the most important part of the video. Obviously, the content is important as well, but if you're testing things, you can just test out multiple hooks, and you can keep the same content at the end. That's how you find out if an ad is going to work. All right, I think we beat the hell out of that topic. Let's go ahead and jump into stage number 2. So stage number 2 is appointments. Now, not every lead that comes into the system is going to book appointments, but we need to get them to book appointments, because if they don't make it there, then we can't get them to show up, and the rest of the funnel doesn't happen. So number 1, the easiest lever to pull is the user-friendliness of the booking process. So I see this all the time. Someone gives you their information. The next stage, it says, thanks, you're all set. And it's like, they don't know what the next step is. It needs to be obvious what they need to do next. So they should be automatically redirected to a big call to action that says book now, or maybe just a calendar on the screen. But a lot of people, 10 to 15% of people, if you have a good offer, will literally walk themselves onto your calendar if you allow them to do so. That's one of the easiest levers to pull. 2 is speed to lead. Some people don't like to call their leads. But if you reach out to a lead within the first 5 minutes that they opt in, it's one of the biggest determining factors of whether or not that person confirms or converts on the back end. 3 is priority of dials. So if you do call your leads, instead of calling 100 random leads, call all the people that no-showed, call all of the new leads that came in today, call all the people that have a higher probability of answering the phone, because if they answer the phone, you have a better likelihood of actually getting them to book an appointment, and great things happen. And then lastly, my personal favorite, because it's my entire business model, conversational AI appointment setters, which take care of all of the above. And then let me show you exactly what these things are capable of. So, well, this is a good stat, by the way. Lead conversions are 391% higher if a rep reaches out in the first minute of inquiry. When you have a conversational AI appointment setter, this is never a problem. There's always going to be a conversation started within the first 10 seconds of opt-in, or 10 seconds that someone completes a form or whatever it might be. We set up automation so they're automatically enrolled into a conversation with an AI, And if the person doesn't respond, then we go ahead and follow up. It can also talk to an unlimited number of people at once. So you have 10 leads, 100 leads, 1,000 leads, it doesn't matter. We're able to talk to as many people as you need to and have as many conversations. It's very scalable as you continue to make more money, spend more money on ads, or just generate more leads in general. You're able to scale this without hiring you don't have to hire another AI assistant, for example. And then you have an unlimited follow-up system. So we build in an automatic follow-up system so that when people don't respond, it will automatically follow up either every day or every other day, whatever it might be, so that we can get that person back on the calendar, or they just tell us to F off, and that works too because they're not interested. Now, here's an example conversation of one of our AI. This is actually a real conversation. One of our clients, their AI bot booked an appointment. It's very conversational, and here's how we program it. We program it to have to ask some questions, so like 1 or 2 qualifying questions that are kind of non-friction, but it's also supposed to be very, very conversational so it seems human-like. So the lead comes in, conversation is started, and then we send them the calendar link. They fill out an application, whatever it might be, and then that appointment is booked. Now, when I first created this whole thing, I didn't expect anybody else to put in the amount of work that I did to figure out how to, webhook it to a middle ground platform like Make or Zapier and then use an API key to make all that. I don't think anybody wants to do that. So we worked directly with Go High Level to program it in a specific way to make it extremely user-friendly so that a bot could be created for your business in like 10 minutes. And here's how it works. Those of you that are familiar with Go High Level, there's something called custom values, right? So these are like code fields that store information. So we programmed and prompted the entire AI for Go High Level so that you could go into, or we programmed it and prompted it with custom values. So you could just come in here and type in the appointment link that you want them to book on, your company information, your company name, the qualifying questions you want the AI to ask, and the personality traits and the name of the AI assistant. So you give it a persona, spend some time on this, kind of like you're creating a My Player in 2K, for those of you that play video games. And then you're ready to go, literally. It's that easy. So that you don't have to do this, because building this spider web tree of things, those of you that don't like tech, close your eyes. This is not fun at all. So we programmed the entire thing with custom values so that you could literally just focus on this part and get it done. All right, stage number 3 is shows, getting people to show up to their appointment. Who's ever had a no-show in their life? It's not fun. People suck sometimes. So this is a real picture of one of our actual clients, where our conversational AI booked 84 appointments in 1 week for a medical spa. They were very happy. So here are the 3 biggest determining factors, in my opinion, of whether or not someone's going to show up to their appointment. Number 1 is the quality of the conversation that you are having with that person. So I don't care if you do a demo call or if you do an in-person consultation or whatever it might be, or if it's over Zoom. There should always be a conversation on the phone, or at least an attempt to do so, before that person gets to the appointment. We need to build rapport, ask the right questions, and then just confirm the time that they booked for, that they're slotted in for, and the likelihood that they show up for their appointment is going to go through the roof. Number 2 is appointment confirmation that prompts a response. An example of an appointment confirmation that doesn't prompt a response would be, hey, Julie, your appointment's coming up tomorrow in 24 hours. We'll see you then. Here's something that we actually did for a brick and mortar gym, and it increased their show rates by 20% just by changing a 24-hour appointment reminder, which sounds crazy. So instead of doing that, we said, hey, Julie, your appointment's coming up in 24 hours. By the way, we're putting in order for t-shirts at the moment. What's your size? We start getting responses, medium, XL, double XL, whatever it might be, but people started showing up to their appointments. And then that goes perfectly into the 3rd one, which is incentives. You want to give an incentive for them to actually show up to their appointment. So in this case, the t-shirt would be the incentive, and you don't actually have to give it to them if they show up, give it to them if they sign up. I think that's smarter. One of the things that we do, just to give another example, on our demo calls, we program an AI bot specifically for the prospect in their industry specifically. So they're incentivized to show up, because if they don't, they're assholes, because we actually put work into that. And we tell them that. We make sure that they know that. The reason why I put so much emphasis on the process, and this will work not just for paid ads, it will work for anything. The process is extremely important. So here's one scenario. I'll give you guys some numbers. Let's say you generate 200 leads and over a period of a month. You have a 10% booking rate, that's 20 appointments, 30% show rate, that's 6 shows, 33% close, 2 deals, assuming that each deal is worth $1,000, just for math's sake. Let's keep it easy. That's $2,000. Now let's say you suck a little bit less. 200 leads, 25% booking rate, 50 appointments, 55% show rate, 28 shows, 33% close, 9 deals. That's $9,000 just by fixing your process. Everybody thinks that in order to make more money, you need to spend more money on ads, right? But most people have a broken process. If you double your show rate and you double your booking rate, you'll make so much more money than spending double the amount of money on ads. And you literally don't have to spend any more money. Okay, last stage. This is closes. Arguably sales. Arguably my least favorite, but I think it's the most important. 3 big determining factors when it comes to getting someone to convert on the back end. Number 1 is rapport. A lot of people don't think rapport is important. I think it is one of the most important things that you can do because it goes perfectly into number 2, which is information gathering and discovery. If you open up the call with, hey, I'm a human, I'm not a salesperson, crack a joke, give them a kiss, whatever you got to do to build the rapport, it makes step 2 so much easier because now they're comfortable with you and they're more willing to give you the answers to the questions that you are asking. And you need those because the only way to craft a pitch or an offer or whatever it might be and package it so it seems like it's perfectly made for your client is to get the information that you need. And lastly is conviction, which I think is also very important, but I'll dive a little bit deeper into these. Here's another good screen. So, discovery milestones. Whenever you're conducting a sales call or demo or consultation, whatever you want to call it, I have a Post-it note and I write all these down. And anytime I'm personally conducting one, I will cross them off as I cover all of these milestones throughout the call so that I know I get all the information that I need. Now again, I'm trying to package as much information as I can in a period of 40 minutes, so there's a lot more to this, but I'm trying to give as much juice as I can. So, number 1, problem. Why are we here? Why are we on this call? What's the problem that I can potentially solve for you? 2, current efforts on the problem. What are you currently doing to solve that problem? What do you think is holding you back? This gives you a really good idea of what the person thinks or why the person is not succeeding and like what their thought process is. How long have you been in this position? What have you tried in the past? And then the desire, which is what is the goal? Another thing is don't interrogate them. So when you have it listed out like that, it's really easy to just kind of power through and start asking questions. Never goes well. You want to be personable, relate to the person, be conversational, ask probing questions, etc. Now, there are 2 sides to sales. And just out of curiosity, so logical selling, emotional selling. Just out of curiosity, who thinks they're more of a logical seller when they're on a console? And who thinks they're more of an emotional seller? Okay, I thought it was going to be the other way around. So I'm probably more 80%, well, and some of you in the front, you probably didn't turn around to see everything. It was probably like 70% of the room was emotional and 30% of the room was logical. I'm probably 80% logic and 20% emotion. But in anything fitness and health related, it's going to be a little bit more emotional, and it has to be. But you don't want to keep it all emotional, because here's something to keep in mind. Emotions are temporary, and if you sell with 100% emotion, that's when you get chargebacks, you get people asking for refunds. You know, that feeling eventually goes away. But if you can get someone to logically understand why they need to make a change, it's so much more significant. But again, you need a little bit of both. And here's an example of the types of questions you ask to kind of like make a consult that specifically. Some logical questions. So, you've tried to do it yourself for the last 10 years. Should you keep doing that, or should you seek help? Logically, if the last 10 years hasn't worked out, you should probably get some help. Can you commit to 3 to 5 hours per week into something that can finally get you results? You can probably do that logically, right? 3 to 5 hours a week, that's not crazy to finally get your results after 10 years. Now, the emotional side. If the next year looks like the last 10 years, how's that going to make you feel? Now, here's one really important thing to note. I don't like being on the other end of a sales call, and I can tell that they're trying to make me emotional, right? That's I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but like that's one of the things you kind of have to get around when you're asking direct emotional questions. People tend to get squirmy and like uncomfortable sometimes. So one way to get around that and still get emotional answers to emotional questions is by probing, like, why? What do you mean? How? Whatever it might be. And I'll give you an example. Has it been hard achieving X, Y, and Z goal, and why? So has it been hard trying to lose 20 pounds the last 10 years? Yeah, it's been super tough. It sucks. Why? Well, because I don't have energy throughout the day, and I can't go out with my friends on the weekends anymore. You can't go out with friends on the weekends? What do you mean? Because the clothes that I used to wear when I go out, they don't fit me the same anymore. Oh, okay. So now we just got the emotional answers to the emotional questions without directly making them uncomfortable. They give us that information themselves. So this is a huge, huge cheat code when it comes to conducting a sales call. And again, I know I'm calling it a sales call. Sales is really just helping someone make the best decision for themselves. If you're on the other end of the call and you feel like, or even if they're in person, and you feel like you can't genuinely help the person, then you should point them away in a different direction. Don't sell someone just for the sake of selling them. Like, help someone make the right decision for them. All right, now why do we do all this? Because your product or service should be exclusively made for the person that's in front of you. So if you get enough information, you can package it so that it's a perfect solution. So for example, it's no longer, we help you lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks, or whatever it might be. It's in 6 weeks, we'll get you closer to losing that 20 pounds so that you can have more energy throughout the day and fit back in to those clothes that you used to wear when you used to go out, and you can start going out again on the weekends. Now, what's more valuable? You can associate so much more value to a personalized solution. And then lastly, conviction. Conviction is one of the most powerful things I think you can possibly have when it comes to selling your product or service. Conviction is how much you personally believe in your own product or service. And more importantly, when you start to grow a team, how much conviction or how much your team believes in your product or service. Because that will start to show as well. The trick with conviction is that in order to earn it, and it has to be earned, conviction is earned, in order to earn it, you have to help people. But in order to help people, you have to sell people. So it's a full circle. But conviction spreads very easily, and people will feel that on the other end of the call. But if you continue to help people, they're going to have conviction in you as well. And they know people. So their conviction spreads, and then that comes back full circle, and that's how you gain an organic audience as well. So one big thing that I want to leave you guys with, and I genuinely, this thing is, all this stuff has changed my life, and I know this is a lot of information, but I really want to give you guys practical information that you're able to take and utilize. So if you are thinking about running paid ads, and you've never ran them before, or maybe you're running them and you're not doing it very well, just start at the top of the funnel. The theory of constraints. Find out what the constraint is, right? Are you having trouble generating leads? Then figure it out. If those leads just aren't booking appointments, right, and they're low-quality leads, and a lot of the time, I mean, we break down businesses all the time, and a lot of the time, there's some misbeliefs in there. Like it's not necessarily the leads are low quality. It looks like that you called 5% of them. So that's also an issue. But if people aren't showing up, fix that problem. If people aren't closing, then we need to work on sales. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate you.
Give it up for Ashton. All right. Sweet. So when we're looking at businesses that have evolved past that initial stage, there's really two parts of our business that we want to be thinking about and have really strong systems in. And so most of you know the Coach Catalyst origin story. Like, we came about this from a coaching delivery platform. We built it for ourselves. We wanted this incredible experience for our clients. But there is another system that we're looking at and that we evolved into from the feedback that we got from coaches. So we were attracting all these coaches that wanted to provide an incredible service for their clients, and they wanted to